seated. Hello. Everyone good? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I'm just going to be honest with you. I wasn't really in the mood for doing this gig. I recently broke up with my girlfriend of 3 years, so not been feeling the best. That's a high mic, James. Sorry. So, yeah, not been feeling the best. I thought, right, I'll put all that aside and I'll at least try to make some people happy. So that's important. Thanks for laughing. Because oftentimes comedians they'll push down their own emotional traumas just to make other people happy. So in that respect, I think comedians are a lot like prostitutes. Well, professional comedians. Us amateurs, we're more like that girl you go to primary school with, who gets with everyone and thinks it's really funny. But then she goes home to her abusive, alcoholic father-in-law, who beats her when he drinks. But then she has to wear loads of makeup to cover the bruises. And then she goes into school, and then she becomes even more popular because she's the chick with the makeup. And I guess what I'm saying is, we all have to make sacrifices. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting old, I'm not going to lie. I'm almost 21. In like a year and a half. So I've been thinking back about my childhood, and I remember when I was 7, we moved into this brand new primary school. It was fantastic. We were in first class, and the classroom was huge. It was so bright, and there was this amazing blue carpet, and we got to paint the walls. And every Friday we got to play Lego. It was such a happy time. But then we went into second class, and it was down the corridor, and it was this dark, dank, musky, sweaty room with this horrible brown carpet, and oftentimes there'd be like elderly Vietnamese men gambling in the corner. But the teacher we had her name was Mrs. Burns, and she was genuinely like something out of a really bad Roald Dahl book. Like something Roald Dahl may have thought about on a really bad acid trip, and then just swore never to bring up again. Imagine, if you will, okay, in some sort of hellacious mixing pot, we have Miss Trunchbull from Matilda, Joseph Stalin, and finally the satanic concept that is wearing sandals with socks. Just stirred up. But she was a really weird teacher. She's really strict. But one of the weird things we had to do was every day or every week we'd sing songs that she'd hold up on this placard. And the songs we sang were like The Saints Go Marching In, She'd Be Coming Around the Mountain, We're Forever Blowing Bubbles, and Mein Führer, You Are My One True Love. No, we didn't sing that one. We marched as well. But we genuinely did sing We're Forever Blowing Bubbles, which some of you may know is now associated with West Ham soccer hooligans, which would explain some of the sort of the skinhead tendencies some of my classmates chose to show back then. Because trust me, you've not seen adorable until you see an 8-year-old try to curb stomp someone. But she was weird, Mrs. Burns. She'd do odd things. This kid fell asleep one day, and she managed to lead him by the hand and put him down on the blackboard and covered him in coats so he'd be able to sleep. And you're thinking, hey, but that lady sounds lovely. But then she proceeded to teabag him. And you're wondering, how is that possible? I don't know. I don't know either. She was just like teabagging away. It was bizarre. Something I did as a child, ladies and gentlemen, I played, okay, who here is familiar with the mid-90s Japanese sensation that is Pokemon? Okay, who played the games on the Game Boy and Nintendo 64? Who still buys and plays the latest games while approaching the age of 20? Yeah, I'm properly obsessed with Pokemon. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have this notebook, and every day, like 4:30 on Sky 1, Pokemon would end, and I'd write down the new Pokemon that were on the show, and I'd study. I was a loser. I say was, but as a kid, then you play it on your Game Boy. Well, I still play it on my Nintendo DS. But as a kid, you sort of role play it in your head. You want to be the best trainer. You want to catch all 150/151. And you want to beat the Elite Four and become the greatest Pokemon trainer in Kanto. Well, playing now as a 19-year-old, I still sort of role play it in my head, but in more of a conceptual, surreal way. Rather than playing as Ash or even David, I play as Nikola, a fantastic, eccentric Serbian scientist. who strives to become the greatest trainer to promote his invention of alternating current. And my rival, rather than naming him Gary or Muhammad, I named him Thomas, an egotistical American industrialist, hell-bent on proving his direct current was way better. It was cool because we both set off on our journeys from home Pallet Town. But every so often we'd meet and we'd battle. And oftentimes I'd come off better, but Thomas, he was a bad man. In one particular scenario, he electrocuted a Snorlax in Celadon City. Just to prove that my alternating current was more dangerous. Downstairs was a charity gig on, and I remember the very first LMAOs we did, there was also a charity gig on. It was a few weeks after the earthquake in Haiti. And it was a fundraiser, you know, it was good intentions, but it was pole dancing for Haiti, which I thought was quite an odd fundraiser, but because clearly there's no poles downstairs, they had to install them specially. So we were up to here doing the gig, and I think I was one of the few people reveling in the irony of them making the building slightly more structurally sound to raise money for an earthquake. I think we bonded enough in the last few minutes for me to tell you a close and intimate nightmare I've been having. Go Zoe! Yeah. But yeah, no, I get it for maybe 4 or 5 days every month, and in it I'm being chased. I'm being chased through this massive dark cave system. I can't see what's chasing me. I only know I'm being chased because whatever it is making this like awkward wet noise, like a queef at a funeral. Yeah, something like that. So I'm being chased, and then I'm thinking, man, what if this thing? What if it kills me? I want to know what it is that, you know, ends my life. So I turn, and what stands before me is not only my greatest fear, it's the greatest fear of men worldwide. Aoife, you can chat in a few minutes. What stood before me was not only my greatest fear, it was the greatest fear of men worldwide. What stood before me was a physical manifestation of the biological process of the menstruation. In the form of like this large crimson octopus. How did you know it was the period in the form of a large subaquan vertebrate, I hear you ask? Well, it was going on about having needs and me not listening or something. But then I'm thinking, wow, I'm here with the period, and I could make the women of the world happy by, you know, destroying the period. Okay, I shouldn't do this for the period because it's a real thing. So I'm there with the period, and I'm looking in the eye, and there's a wind blowing across me, and the wind is blowing in my long grey robe and my long white beard, and I look the period in the eye and I yell, "You shall not pass!" And then the floor falls from below us, and we're falling for like a half a movie, like the last quarter of one movie and then the first quarter of its sequel. And even though we're falling down, I still end up on top of a mountain. But then I smote the period. I was like, I am no mere conjurer of cheap tricks, bitch. So I smote the period, okay? So any women who are in the audience and happen to be missing the aforementioned period, nothing to worry about. I took care of that for you. So happy out. Yeah, okay, right. I'm going to finish up on one other joke. I was a little afraid the Pokemon Tesla reference would fly over everyone's head. So I have another one.
Pretty funny.
Cool. Okay. Well done. What do the wives of eccentric Serbian scientists use as contraception?
Tell us.
A Tesla coil. Thank you very much, everybody.